the tiny mistake in Pretty Woman no one noticed for years. For years, audiences believed they had seen every detail of Pretty Woman. The romance felt effortless, almost too perfect to question. From the elegant hotel suites to the iconic wardrobe, everything looked carefully designed to create a modern fairy tale. But hidden inside one of the film's quietest scenes is a tiny mistake, so small most people missed it, yet strange enough to change how you see the film once you notice it. When Pretty Woman first released, it didn't feel like a film made under pressure. It felt smooth, confident, almost inevitable. The chemistry between Vivian and Edward carried the story so naturally that viewers rarely stopped to question what was happening on screen. But behind that polished surface, the film had a much more uncertain beginning. The original script, written under the title 3000, wasn't romantic at all. It was darker, more grounded, and far less comforting. Vivian wasn't meant to have a fairy tale ending. Instead, she simply moved on with her life. The story focused more on survival than love. That version of the film was closer to social commentary than fantasy. Everything changed when the project shifted direction. The tone was softened, the characters reshaped, and the ending transformed into something hopeful. Vivian became warmer, Edward more vulnerable. What started as a harsh story became a polished, romantic escape. But that transformation didn't come easily. The production faced limitations, budget constraints, time pressure, and constant adjustments. Some scenes relied on simpler lighting setups. Wardrobe pieces were sourced creatively. Even the now iconic red jacket wasn't originally planned, it was a last-minute replacement. Casting wasn't stable either. Several actors were considered before the final pairing came together. Nothing about the film was guaranteed, even though it now feels iconic. And maybe that's why one small detail stands out so much. In a quiet breakfast scene, something unusual happens. Vivian reaches for a croissant, but between shots it changes. Suddenly, it's a pancake. The bites don't match. The shape is different. It's a subtle continuity error, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. At the time, no one noticed. Audiences were focused on the characters, not the food. Home viewing wasn't as precise as it is today. People weren't pausing scenes or analyzing details frame by frame. Years later, with better video quality and repeat viewing, the mistake became obvious. It's now considered one of the most well-known continuity errors in film. What's interesting is why it happened. The director chose the best emotional performance, even though the prop didn't match. In filmmaking, that trade-off happens more often than people realize. Emotion usually wins over perfection. And that's what makes this mistake feel meaningful. Because Pretty Woman is a film built on illusion. It's about transformation, how appearance, clothing, and environment can change perception. Yet right in the middle of that polished illusion, reality slips through for a moment. The croissant becomes a pancake. It's small, almost ridiculous, but it quietly reveals something deeper. Perfection in cinema isn't real, it's assembled. There are other subtle inconsistencies, too. A tie changes position between shots. Small details reset themselves. These are the invisible seams of filmmaking, the parts we're not meant to notice. And yet they're always there. Behind the scenes, the film wasn't as effortless as it looked. Long hours, pressure, and constant retakes created a tense environment. Even simple scenes required multiple attempts. What looks natural on screen often comes from repetition and adjustment. Some of the film's most memorable moments weren't even planned. They happened spontaneously, shaped by instinct rather than script. That unpredictability added authenticity, but also made continuity harder to control. Still, none of this affected the film's success. Pretty Woman became a cultural landmark. It launched careers, influenced fashion, and left a lasting mark on romantic storytelling. Audiences didn't remember the production challenges. They remembered the feeling. And maybe that's the point. Because even with its flaws, even with a breakfast that doesn't quite make sense, the film still works. The emotion carries it. The connection feels real enough that the details don't matter. Until you notice them. And once you do, the film changes just a little. Not in a way that ruins it, but in a way that reminds you it was made by people. Imperfect, creative, human. That tiny mistake becomes something more than an error. It becomes a glimpse behind the curtain. So next time you watch Pretty Woman, pay attention to that breakfast scene.